As home gardeners, we are all familiar with the concept of growing tomatoes throughout the summer, well into the autumn. If you've got a greenhouse, you can extend the season at either end, cropping earlier and cropping later. But I've had a couple of people ask me, is it possible to grow tomatoes in the depth of winter? I'm going to go to the coldest place on earth, one of the coldest, to discover more. Is it possible to grow tomatoes in the depth of winter? I'm David, you're watching GrowMad. So can you grow tomatoes in the winter? This is Iceland in the depth of winter, and these were grown just around the corner. Yes, you can. So, growing tomatoes during the winter. Let's discover more. Iceland, the land of fire and ice, Viking sagas and iceberg seas. The land of quaint wooden churches and turf-clad houses. The land of hot springs, badass vehicles on deserted roads, miles from anywhere. Icelandic ponies, whale watching and stunning street art. And some of the most unbelievable scenery and waterfalls anywhere in the world. And of course, the land of the midnight sun and the northern lights. But above all, this country is cold, unbelievably cold in the winter, easily below -20 or even -30, and it's dark. But despite these harsh conditions, they are still managing to grow tomatoes 365 days of the year. 1 hour east of Reykjavik, the capital of Iceland, you can find the husband and wife team that own GrowMad, producing 370 tonnes of tomatoes annually, which is between 15 and 20% of Iceland's total tomato consumption. It all starts with propagation, which is carried out in-house with tomato varieties grafted onto rootstocks. The tomatoes growing in rockwool and koi mixture are then planted into the greenhouses and grown for up to 2 years from a single plant, which can reach lengths of up to 50 feet or more. Heating is provided by the geothermal resources that are abundant in Iceland. Supplementary lighting is absolutely essential, particularly during the dark days of winter. It is either provided by high pressure sodium lighting or the more modern and efficient LEDs. Electricity is subsidised and made available by Iceland's volcanic activity. And if you are lucky enough to visit GrowMad in Iceland, not only will you get to see tomato production at first hand, they even have a restaurant positioned inside one of the greenhouses. Unbelievable, actually amongst the growing crop. They also provide a tomato-based deli and they even have their own pub, again inside the growing greenhouse. Unbelievable. Go Iceland. That's given me an idea. Maybe I should consider putting a bar or a pub into our polytunnel. Anyway, enough of that. You may be thinking, that's all very lovely, David, showing us the pictures of Iceland, and you're really happy that I'm an ambassador apparently for the Icelandic Tourist Board. But how are we supposed to grow tomatoes in the UK or anywhere else on this latitude for that matter? The point I was trying to make is if they can do it in Iceland with sub-zero temperatures, and trust me, it can be very cold, and daylight hours in the winter which are fairly non-existent. They have at least 20 hours of darkness during parts of December and January. If they can do it in Iceland, we can do it in the UK. Now you're going to need 3 things. Number 1, you're going to have an insulated greenhouse. This isn't an outdoor crop. Bubble wrap should be sufficient, but insulate the greenhouse. Number 2, you're going to need some fairly sophisticated heating equipment. We use propane. We use a company called Hotbox. They have a great selection of heaters, propane heaters that work really well, very efficient. They have different powers as well depending on your size greenhouse. And number 3, you are going to need supplementary lighting. You can find lighting, LED lighting, quite easily on Amazon. We even use these small LEDs, festoon. They just plug into normal holder. I've got one of these little grippy things for hanging them up in the greenhouse. These work perfectly well, but you can obviously get bigger setups, again, depending on what you're planning on producing. So there really is no excuse for tomatoes during the winter if you are prepared to invest in some of the equipment. Whether or not that's economically viable, I don't know, but it's a nice challenge to see if you can grow tomatoes year round. I hope you've enjoyed the video. I hope you enjoyed the images from Iceland. It's a great country. If you get a chance, go visit. Go visit the tomato nursery as well. It's well worth the visit. If you've enjoyed this, please subscribe to all our social media channels, and we look forward to seeing you on the soil.